A few years ago, when I kind of stepped out of full-time corporate work, I started thinking about the environment and what's going on. So over the last 5 or 6 years, I had the green style folks come and visit, and they gave me a lot of input. I think she came twice. It was really, really useful. We gradually replaced most of the exotic species and have planted it with native species. So we get a lot of birds here. There's a lyrebird who comes at the back. There are a lot of wallabies who come in. We actually back onto the reserve. And one of the other things I did was, when I started working on this garden, I asked the neighbors if they would help me do some bush work. And so we also created a group of just neighbors who went back down into the bush and kept that clean. So we were removing the weeds and keeping that place tidy. Down here I only had bricks, and so I've removed the bricks, and this is now like a native lawn. So there's dichondria, there's pratia grass, and there's a little bit of native violet. Up there is a new hot water system. So we had a hot water system that was electric, and the council gave us a rebate to replace that with a heat pump. Our electricity bill has really gone down. So we were consuming, on an average, about 25 kilowatts a day, and now we're kind of down to about 13 or 14. That's partly because of this little baby here, the ice store. And the other thing that's reduced our consumption is that this is a very old house and the insulation was pretty poor. So we've replaced it with thermally efficient glass windows and doors. So it doesn't get so cold and so hot that quickly. So we retain a lot of the natural warmth and natural cool in the summers. So we find that we don't need to turn on the AC at all for much longer into the winter season or into the summer season. So the other thing I was becoming really conscious of is my own carbon footprint. So I built this water-wise garden, and then I was driving a WRX, which is very heavy on fuel, and our electricity consumption is very high as well. So we do have solar panels. So I decided to go for this because the battery in the car can be actually used for storage, and it can charge and it can basically power our house. So instead of buying a separate Tesla Powerwall or any other battery, I decided to go for the Nissan Leaf, which actually allows for bidirectional charging. All my food scraps from the kitchen actually go into in-ground compost. So I've never had to fertilize the garden. So all these kind of little small veggie patch, I'm finally starting to get some tomatoes and capsicums. This is growing from in-ground water, and it's getting nutrients from the food waste that is being processed into nutrients by worms in the compost. So it's kind of like a self-sustaining garden. I think there's miles to go. I'm grateful that I have started slowly thinking about my own carbon footprint, and I think I have reduced it quite a bit. But there's miles to go. I would love to be net zero. I'm not there yet. I would love to actually be positive, which means I'm creating clean energy at least and giving back to the grid that other people can use. Maybe build a community garden here that is grown from scraps so that we don't have to travel miles to get our food. So there are a few different ideas in my head. I don't know where it'll get me, but that's the way I'm thinking about my own net zero journey. All of you, just start with one small thing. That's all we need to do.